Catarina Fernandez and Tiago Silva, met in 2016 in the Portugal region of Alentejo through a social network. At the time, Catarina was 19 years old and Tiago was 23. The two fell in love, started a relationship, and a few months later, Catarina ended up getting pregnant. As they were both very young, they still didn't have a minimally stable life. Catarina was a student, and it had never crossed her mind to be a mother so early. Tiago already had a job, but it didn't pay him much, at least not enough for him to support a family, and much less provide them with some comfort. Due to this entire situation of uncertainty and insecurity, Catarina became worried. Tiago, on the contrary, was very happy with the news that he was going to become a father. Catarina's family did not accept her pregnancy very well. She still lived with her mother, and as I already mentioned, neither she nor Tiago had the financial means to maintain a family. So Catarina's older sister thought it would be better for her to terminate this pregnancy and made an appointment for her at a clinic where the procedure would be carried out. However, Catarina did not want to interrupt the pregnancy and Tiago much less. The couple then decided to escape and went to a region in central Portugal, the region where Tiago was born and raised, known as Zona da Guarda. There they stayed in a small village called Fornos de Algodres, which was where Tiago's mother lived with his grandmother. His father had passed away a few months ago, so the two women were living alone. In addition to all the difficulties they were going through, despite being hard-working, Tiago couldn't find work in the village. This was because he did not yet have professional qualifications, and the village was also very small, so job opportunities there were scarce. This situation left Tiago a little frustrated and angry. The couple stayed at Tiago's mother's house for a few months, and in the meantime, during some pregnancy monitoring tests, Catarina discovered that the baby, which in this case was a girl, had a malformation in the belly area. Catarina was hospitalized with anemia at 20 weeks of pregnancy, another difficult time for the young couple. Tiago always stood by his girlfriend, but due to all the difficulties the couple faced, especially with the issue of Tiago not getting a job and Catarina's high-risk pregnancy, the young woman decided to return to her mother's house in Alentejo. Tiago was against this decision and asked her to stay. Deep down, he believed that things could work out, but Catarina was scared. She was afraid that the worst could happen to her baby, and added to that, plus the fact that she would have more structure in her mother's house, she decided to go. Catarina's parents were separated. This happened when she and her sister were still little. Both Catarina and her sister did not have much contact with their father after this separation, and their relationship was described as distant. She has two older brothers from her mother's first marriage and a sister from her mother and father's relationship. Catarina is the youngest daughter among all her siblings, and when she was born, her mother was already 40 years old. The age difference between her and her older brothers on her mother's side is almost 20 years. Catarina's father was always a bit unstable and always had problems with alcohol. Because of this, he didn't stay at a job for long, and most of the time he spent a large part of his salary on drinking, which caused him to sink into debt, accumulating several financial problems. After Catarina's father separated from her mother, he met another woman, a Brazilian who had emigrated to Portugal in search of a better life. The two had a relationship that lasted years, until the woman died as a result of excessive alcohol consumption. This loss left Catarina's father very depressed and even more unstable, and from then on he began to live alone and somewhat isolated. As Catarina had decided to return to her mother's house until her daughter was born, as she would have more support and care there, Tiago decided to go alone as he didn't want to be away from her and her daughter. But due to the uncomfortable situation involving Tiago and Catarina's mother, Tiago couldn't stay at his mother-in-law's house. With that, Catarina decided to ask her father so that Tiago could stay at his house. The man, whose name is José Adelino Clementino, lived alone, as I already mentioned, and accepted his daughter's request. Jose Adelino lived in a house in the same area as the house where Catarina's mother lived, and that way she and Tiago could stay close. Catarina told her father that Tiago would only stay for a short time, at most about 4 months, until their daughter was born and they got back together. The couple was very happy, as Tiago had gotten a job with housing included in France, which was where they would go after their daughter was born and start a new life. However, this happiness would soon give way to despair and sadness. The relationship between Tiago and his father-in-law was described as peaceful, so much so that Jose Adelino, Tiago's father-in-law, got the boy a job in the GNR stables, where he worked. For those who don't know, GNR stands for Republican National Guard, and they are the main active police force in Portugal. Jose Adelino was an employee of an outsourced company that was responsible for cleaning and maintaining the place where the GNR horses were kept, and it was with this same company that he got Tiago a job. At this point, in addition to sharing the same house, the two also worked together. As I already said, their relationship was described as peaceful. There were just silly arguments about whose turn it was to clean the house or wash the dishes, but nothing that could give a hint of what was to come. On February 4th, 2017, the Saturday, Tiago was off work and he had gone to a friend's house to help him with some tasks. At around 9 p.m., Catarina called Tiago, who said he would visit her the next day first thing in the morning. While they were talking, Catarina could hear her father drunk in the background and talking loudly. Tiago told her that his father-in-law had been drinking for a few hours and that he was very upset, singing loudly and making a mess. Tiago also said that he was very tired and just wanted to rest, but his father-in-law wouldn't stop. After some time of conversation, Catarina and Tiago said goodbye and ended the call. A few hours later, Tiago called Catarina again, but Catarina didn't see the call and therefore didn't answer it. Around midnight, Catarina, who was already sleeping, was woken up by her mother, who told her that the police were in the kitchen and wanted to talk to her. Catarina got up and went to the kitchen. The police officers just asked for her documents and didn't want to say anything else. She found it all very strange, but as no one wanted to say anything to her, and she was also very tired, she decided to go to sleep. The next day, Tiago didn't show up as he said he would. Around lunchtime, after trying to call Tiago and sending him several messages, none of which were answered, Catarina told her mother that she would go to her father's house to see if everything was okay. Her mother said that there was no need for that and that she should stay at home, and it was raining heavily that day. Only after lunch did Catarina's mother decide to tell her the truth. Catarina's father had taken Tiago's life. Catarina fell to her knees on the kitchen floor and started crying. She didn't want to believe it. Her mother, also crying a lot, tried to calm her down, but Catarina was upset. Both the police officers and Catarina's mother thought it was best to tell her about what had happened with Tiago only the next day. Otherwise, she would spend the night sleepless and distressed, something that could make the pregnancy that was already worse even worse, of risk. From what the police found, after Tiago and Catarina ended their conversation on the phone, the boy went to try to rest. However, Jose Adelino was very drunk and upset, singing loudly and making a lot of noise. As a result, Tiago couldn't sleep and decided to go to his friend's house, who he had helped with some tasks earlier. There, Tiago explained to this friend, identified as Juan Calero, that he was very tired and due to his father-in-law's condition, he was unable to sleep. Tiago then asked João if he could rest at his house, while João said it would be fine. After a while, when Tiago was already sleeping, his father-in-law, Jose Adelino, went to João's house. Jose Adelino started shouting at the gate, calling for Tiago. João came out and told the man that Tiago was resting and that he had better leave. Jose Adelino insisted and said he would only leave if Tiago went home with him. João then came in and went to talk to Tiago, who, in order not to cause any more problems for his friend, decided to leave with his father-in-law. Upon arriving at his father-in-law's house, in the kitchen while Tiago's back was turned, Jose Adelino took a bladed weapon and struck 2 blows to the boy's back. Then, as soon as Tiago turned around and fell to the ground, Jose Adelino threw another blow, this time right in the heart, causing the boy's instant death. After committing the crime, Jose Adelino went to a nearby river called Chamara, where he disposed of the knife. The man then returned to his home and called the police, saying that as soon as he arrived home, he found Tiago already in that state. When the police arrived at the scene, they saw that Jose Adelino's story did not coincide with the crime scene and realized that he was lying. When asked what had actually happened, Jose Adelino gave numerous versions, but none of them could be confirmed by the police as being real. He was then arrested in the act and taken to a place where he was detained. The story about the crime had national repercussions, and the fact that the victim would become a father in a few weeks made everything even sadder. Tiago Silva's funeral took place on February 8th, where several of the boy's friends and family attended in outrage. Catarina cannot attend the funeral due to her high-risk pregnancy. While Tiago was buried, Catarina was taken by ambulance to the Lisbon hospital, where she stayed at the Alfredo da Costa Maternity Hospital. At the turn of the 15th of February to the 16th at Cerro Port 12, Clara, the daughter of Catarina and Tiago, was born. The situation was delicate. As soon as the girl was born, she had no vital signs and had to be resuscitated. After the medical team managed to revive her, the girl was sent to another specialized hospital where she would have a better chance of surviving. Catarina couldn't hold her daughter in her arms and barely saw her face. A friend of Catarina's for many years, who became her daughter's godmother, stayed by the young girl's side during the time she was in the hospital, and it was the same woman who took a photo of Clara and showed it to Catarina, which was the first time she had seen her daughter's face. According to Catarina, when she was about to have her daughter, she was very sick and had a high fever. She says that during that period she saw Tiago at the foot of the bed looking at her and smiling, saying that everything was going to be okay. She says she doesn't know if it was a dream, if she was awake, or if she was delirious due to the fever. But the strangest thing is that Tiago was wearing a white shirt that she had never seen him wear. And after she told her friends about it, they said that the description of the shirt she gave her matched the white shirt that Tiago wore on the day he was the victim of the crime. Another very strange and bizarre thing that Catarina said is that the day before the crime, Tiago was at Catarina's mother's house and told her mother that he saw his father-in-law, Jose Adelino, having sex with his own sister. Catarina says that this stayed in her head and wonders if perhaps this was the motivation for the crime, the intention of which was for Tiago not to tell anyone about what he saw. Today, Clarinha is 7 years old and always asks about her father. She asks what Tiago was like, why he left, and says she wishes he were here with her. Catarina and her daughter's life has been very difficult in recent years. In addition to the loss of Tiago and Clarinha's malformation, Catarina has serious hearing problems. The woman has severe chronic otitis and has been waiting for years for an operation to place a cochlear implant, popularly known as a bionic ear, which would help her recover her hearing. According to Catarina, in Portugal, people like her with some type of disability have great difficulty getting a job opportunity due to rejection. According to Catarina, she had been working in a hotel for a few months. She said that it was very difficult to get this job, and that as she did a good job, the hotel owners intended to renew her contract, but unfortunately, that didn't happen, and Catarina is currently unemployed. Despite this, Catarina has hope for the future and dreams of being able to publish her story of improvement in detail in a book that will be called Clarinha, A Gift from God. She said that this is her big dream and that she hopes to achieve it soon. About Jose Adelino, Catarina's father, from the last information I obtained, he was sentenced to more than 30 years in prison. Well guys, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.